Hi, I'm Bob Humphrey, Vice President of SAM, and I'm here with my co-host, David Trahan, the Executive Director of the Sportsmen's Alliance of Maine. We have a special guest today, Ron Fournier, who is the Recreational Safety Supervisor for the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife.
Yeah. Hey, Bob.
Hey, welcome.
Great to be back.
Yeah, good to have you. We're going to talk about hunter safety, the hunter safety program, and some exciting initiatives and programs. I'm not going to bury the lead because I just learned about this recently, and ironically, the department just released a news release yesterday on this.
Yeah.
In the past, when you took you take a regular firearms hunter safety course, and then further on down the line, you decide that you want to go bow hunting, you'd have to take a full hunter safety course designed for archery hunting.
Yep. And
And then if you wanted to go use a crossbow, you'd have to take a crossbow course. But that's no longer the case. So tell us about that.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. If you look back at history, I think crossbow use was very restrictive. It was either a medical disability or, over 65. And a lot of states, started to see the opportunity of, removing some of these restrictions. And we need people to harvest more deer in certain areas of the state. It provides more access and opportunity for folks. So the law changed in 2023, where crossbows were seen as archery equipment, and then in 24 is when they allowed crossbow use through expanded archery as well. And looking at statistics, we were seeing a lot of our students that wanted to get into archery hunting with a bow or a crossbow, and they were seeking the online course as it was probably the path of least resistance. You could do it at your own time. It was like $30. And many of these folks they've already taken hunter education, and they've met standards that are met in the bow hunter safety curriculum.
So probably 3/4 of the course they've already taken.
Yeah, I would say about half of it, respectively, is common core. Map and compass, wilderness survival, big game species, and that sort of stuff. So I started looking at ways to increase access and improve the experience, and also respect the standards that they've already met. When you go to college, you're not going back and doing basic math or algebra 1. You're moving forward. You've met those standards, those foundational blocks. So I worked with International Hunter Education Association and NBEF. We looked at the core standards and created an archery addendum course, which built onto what you've already achieved through hunter education. It's about a 4.5-hour, 5-hour course in person, and the goal is to welcome people back to the classroom. The online is still there; it's still an option for folks. But what we saw, we did a pilot of just 3 programs early last fall, after getting commissioner approval, and we just wanted to test the waters to make sure the curriculum was in line and that we were hitting all the notes. And we had an average of 30 people in each classroom for those 3 pilots. We haven't filled a classroom for archery safety in years. We typically would register 6 or 8 students, 3 or 4 would show up. We ended up canceling them time and time again because nobody was showing up for the in-person class, and they would go to the online. So now we're welcoming people back to the classroom where we can do things that we can't do online. But what you just mentioned, so yesterday we had a campaign that launched. We've got, I think, 12 or 13 archery addendum courses open right now. We're doing a big spring push. We've got one program. It's right up the Route 1 corridor from south to north, and as well as inland. And I believe we've got 12 to 14 courses open right now for anybody that wants to jump in. And our goal is to really open the access to the course now to give people time to invest in their training, go out and find a bow, find a crossbow, spend the summer practicing and being proficient. And then we've got a whole bunch of other obligations and projects we're working on, so we'll probably take a little bit of a break early summer with things like youth field days and skills days and all that sort of stuff. And then late summer, we're going to do another wave, a big push right ahead of the season.
Yeah, very smart, but don't wait. Do it now, because that's what everyone does. It's kind of like the people that wait until the Saturday after Thanksgiving to go to LLB and get a muzzleloader.
Yeah,
get the course now, and like Ron said, then you have all summer to get a bow, to get proficient with it.
And people want this. So we just did January, I think it was January 7th, right here at SAM at the Outdoor Center. We held one in the beginning of January, right? So archery season is it's a long ways away.
Yeah.
And we filled that classroom. We had 32 people in that classroom there to get certified for archery. And we had a father and a son came all the way down from Madawaska to take the class in person because his son was on school vacation week. And so, yeah, it was great to see the demand is there. So our classes are filling. We also have the right strategic partners. We've got, locations up at PCCA. We've got courses here, the Gray headquarters, but we also partner with Kittery Trading Post, Cabela's, and L.O. Bean, where a lot of them have an educational component. They've got a room somewhere where we can go ahead and do classes and try to really broaden our reach so we can make classes accessible to as many people as we can.
Yeah, and David, he made a good point about the coordination between the department, whose office is right up the street, and our outdoor education center. So, where did that begin? And
Well,
where
first of
are
all,
we now?
I'd like to say I've known Ron for quite some time, back when you were managing Bryant Pond, and you did such an amazing job. Great instructors.
Thanks.
We started out as Sam did, getting into education more than what we've done in the past. We've always been a political organization, but when I came on as director, I remember the first newspaper to interview me at SAM was the Press Herald, and I immediately said we were going to get into education. I went to you, and we started experimenting with some different programs. I thought we struggled a bit to get off the ground. We didn't really have a place to do what we wanted to do.
Right.
I had 3 ranges here at the building.
Yeah, we started right here.
We started
We were
right
shooting
here,
pellet
down
rifles
right in
behind,
our basement where we're recording now, and we ended up having a piece of property donated. And you went over to Inland Fisheries and Wildlife when we were going from hands-on education, hunter education, to more online. And I think what's interesting is the maturity where we started and where we are today. Now you're managing, I think, a blossoming education program. We submitted legislation to expand statewide, try to get you more resources. And I think the hands-on stuff is where I think people really blossom. They like that learning from a mentor, and that's what it feels like. I watched some of your classes. It feels more like a mentoring program than it does an education program, where you're actually handling the bow and you're transferring your experience to these young people.
Right, and you get the personal passion behind it, which can help concrete some of those skills.
Yeah, the education center started at 34 acres and is now 134, soon to be 160 acres. I'm really excited about talking to you about an actual hands-on mentoring hunter and turkey program next door at the education center. The land there's a power line and some more land being donated. That's happening, and it's a perfect location to do some of that.
Well, that's
But
great.
I'm really excited, not just about your archery program, but all the things you're doing. The trapping classes, I go over and I find it hard to park because there's so many people at your trapping education. So I'm really excited about what you're doing, and the partnership in particular with Sam makes me very proud.
Yeah, I understand those trapping courses are like the demand is just crazy.
Yeah, basically looking back a little bit, I started in October of 21, and what I realized was there was a lot of public demand. We were getting a lot of phone calls and emails, and we were offering courses, but we were not offering them at the frequency and at the pace that the public really needed, and we also didn't offer them, during the season. And I always think about it like, in the season, you've got people that are around other people doing those activities. Like, think about during hunting season. You go to work, you're talking about your deer hunt, people around the water cooler, or, at your church or at the corner store, and they're curious, they're interested about getting started. Well, you'll have to wait till next year to get started. And that's really, you're going to lose people in that conversation. So what we try to do is make courses year-round, more frequently, and we've tested a lot of different places to make sure, like, where's the sweet spot? And I'll say, at the SAM Outdoor Center, we fill that classroom every single month with courses, 30 to 40 people in almost every single session. And it doesn't matter if it's January or July. The demand is there. And it's not about selling licenses. It's about educating the public. Because I know that a lot of folks will come in to get the experience, but, they may not ever trap, but they want to know more about it. So But I think last year we held 40 classes statewide. And in contrast, I just came back from a meeting in Philadelphia last week, and there's 2 states in New England, which I won't name, that both have 2 trapper ed classes a year annually, one in the spring and one in the fall for 24 students, and that's it.
Wow.
And we're certifying just under 800 in person for trapper ed annually, plus our bear trapping course.
Is there a mentor program with trapping like there is with hunting?
Yeah, so we have a it's an online resource. It's called learnhunting.org, and it's a platform where you would create a profile as a hunter or as a trapper or bow hunter. And there's 2 portals. So there's an instructor side and then a mentee side. So somebody that is interested in that, they can go on, they can search by name, location, type of activity, and then it's all through encrypted emails and everybody's background checked. It's successful, but it's really not. We're not seeing the numbers quite yet that we want to see. There's a handful of instructors. I think we've got 75 or so on there.
But is there such a thing as a apprentice? I should have said apprentice, not mentor. Yeah. An apprentice trapping license where you try it for 1 year under the guidance of somebody else, and then if you like it, you get certified and get your...
Yeah, so you can get your apprentice license for up to 3 years, and you can hunt or trap with somebody for that has their license. They've had it for a number of years to get their feet wet. And there's 2 opportunities here. So one, I'm glad you talked about the turkey hunting over there, because we're partnering with National Wild Turkey Federation. I'm actually heading there tomorrow morning to Nashville to the conference. And I've got an IHA meeting down there as well. But with our local chapters here, partnering with them for our Learn to Hunt turkey hunting workshops, as well as some mentored experiences. Mentored hunts, it's a heavy lift sometimes, because you're trying to, you might be able to do, half a dozen or 12 people, and to really scale up. So what you need to do is create the culture of people that are already out there doing this to normalize. You should take somebody out deer hunting. It doesn't have to be extremely formal, but there's ways of inviting people to, open that offer to folks. Another great opportunity is, we live in a state where there's a lot of registered Maine guides, and I've been guiding for 20 years, and there is a huge market for entry-level experiences. People aren't necessarily looking to go book a deer hunt for a whole week, but they'll certainly take a half day or 1 day. Same thing with turkey hunting. And the key there is keep it simple, keep it educational and fun and affordable. So a lot of people that are just sticking their toe in the water, they may not have the means or the willingness to dedicate a ton of time or money, but there's a big market there for people to get their foot in the door.
Yeah, and just to put in a shameless plug, if you're interested in deer hunting, but you have no idea how to go about it and how to get started, get on the Maine Deer Hunters Facebook page and just make that known. We've had a bunch of people. We're trying to formalize it a little bit more, but it's been sort of casual, offhand up to this point. If you put yourself out there, we'll find you somebody. I guarantee it. We will put you with somebody that's competent and knowledgeable, and we'll help you get started.
That's a really good point, and I've seen that happening with the Maine Deer Hunters page as well as some of the trapping pages. Somebody will show some vulnerability and just post, hey, I'm new to Maine, or I'm new to hunting. This is where I live. Is there anybody that's willing? And I'm amazed at how many people will private message them, make a couple of comments, and say, connect with me. I'll take you on the trap line. I'll take you out to a turkey spot. And I think that's where we can have the greatest impact, is normalizing the culture of mentoring other people to get outdoors. We're still working on some formalized mentorship programs, but what I've learned from a lot of other states, it is a heavy lift to really scale it up, because we're not looking at tens of people. We're looking at hundreds, if not thousands of people that we want to reach.
Well, I want to jump in right there, because I think there is a way to do that. One of the things you did that I'm quite proud of, our fishing ponds that we have teaching fishing have become almost, I guess, overrun by muskrats. We've seen otter over there. We've seen mink, and you came in.
Perfect place for a trapping course.
Well, what I was thinking is the mentoring, but having it recorded from beginning to end, the training, the setting the traps, catching a muskrat, showing somebody how to skin it, eat it if they want, right from the beginning to the end, and then sharing that experience through Facebook pages, through our own website. We have our own social media at SAM. But what struck me was you set your traps and you caught some.
Yeah, we did. We actually had 2 back-to-back trapping programs, 3 days apart because of demand. We actually had a program on a Sunday and a Wednesday. And on Sunday, we taught the class, and we actually went and showed them practical, sets and whatnot. And we set gear for muskrat, mink, and otter. And on the Wednesday class, when we came in, I had checked them, I think, Monday or Tuesday. And then we started the class off on Wednesday, and we took the class out when we went to do the water sets. And we hadn't checked them yet. And we had a mink in one of them, and we had a muskrat in another.
Nice.
And that was a real, experience to see. Like, we just set these on Sunday with the last class, but we took photos and we emailed everybody from Sunday's class to show what we actually caught on Wednesday.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, there's definitely some opportunities to create a project where we can do something like that. It's storytelling.
Yeah, it
and to be able to follow that all the way through. And I think you and I have talked about doing some kind of a mentored program where we could do, some dates where people come out and trap. They set some traps, and then they meet back up with the mentors and they run the trap line. So, lots of good. There's no shortage of good ideas at this table.
No, the property itself is. I was a logger for 40 years. I still do some logging. I know land pretty well. What's unique about the SAM property is the diversity of habitat.
Yeah.
There's wetlands throughout, and then there's old growth, there's new growth. The place is full of birds of prey, osprey, eagle, owls.
Yep.
In the future, I'd like to experiment maybe with you doing owl calling. You do it at night.
Mm-hmm.
It's very unique.
Yep.
You literally call these owls in. It'll bring people in to...
And you sneak up on them.
Yes. Anyway, the opportunity's there. And if you capture it, I think video is very important to capture these things and then use that to expand your footprint. This is beginning to end. This is how we did it. You're going to catch... I think part of the reason your trapping classes are so popular is that people are watching these Alaskan shows where they show people living off the land, sustenance, they're trapping. And it's very, very interesting. My wife thinks I'm kind of a nerd because I love to watch these shows and the same thing every week, but it's kind of cool. You always learn something.
Yeah, a lot of different motivators out there.
Yeah.
One of the really surprising things with all of our surveys we've done with trapping is selling fur for profit or monetizing your trapping is number 5 on the list. It's not the motivator.
Yeah.
It's
No,
more
it's a good
time
thing.
of feel with family, tradition and heritage, food.
Yeah.
Being self-reliant on predator control and whatnot. But I agree, there's a lot of people that want to be connected to the outdoors. They see outdoorsy things going on, and they want to be involved, and they don't know how to.
Well, they're living in
make that happen.
they're living in a virtual world now with all these devices. We're all on our computers and handhelds, and we're not living our lives.
Yeah.
That I have these 2 young ladies. They're twins. They're 18. My wife and I have befriended them. And these young ladies are living in that world. And when we offer them an opportunity to say go fiddleheading in the spring and fishing, or to go ice fishing this weekend, they light right up.
Yep.
They just absorbing it. And I think that's what we need to tap into. Is there is a desire, I think, from this generation to get the
Absolutely.
outdoors.
So you've already got a ton of programs going on. You're expanding. You've got a ton of potential ahead. All this costs money. So how are we going to pay for it, David? What is Sam going to do to help Ron expand this program?
We already have. Sam's all in on education. After the bear referendum, we submitted legislation to put an extra $1 on the hunting license and dedicate it to education. And that had some constraints on it because we wanted to defend the bear hunting community. There has not been another referendum emerge, so that money's been freed up a little bit. We submitted legislation and worked with the department to free that up, to give him some more resources. We will do whatever it takes because I'm a believer, and I know my board is at SAM, that education is the future. The generations have changed the way that we use the outdoors. It used to be that families would get together on the weekend. There'd be 10 or 12 that would hunt together, and they went and did it as a family, and now they're not. People are more scattered, and they rely on maybe some other points of education. I think we need to get back to the family unit and sharing friendships, sharing the outdoors. That's all I do with my time now is take young people out.
Yeah.
Perch fishing. I take them out hunting when I can. Ice fishing is a great event to get people out.
The outdoors it's a great way to bond and have real meaningful connections.
Yeah.
And we definitely see, lives are busy, they're very complex, we're very plugged in, and I think that there is a lot of folks that really are yearning or desiring to get back to the outdoors. And for years we emphasized a lot of like youth programs, but really we're pivoting to try to get the adults, future families, and that sort of stuff. Because if you get the child, you may not get the parent. You get the parent, you get the whole family. And creating that culture. We just did a program this weekend. It was a winter skills program at the 4-H camp at Bryant Pond, and we had a full house there doing a wide range of winter activities: shooting, hunting, focused, fishing. And we had folks that had never been on the ice, had never fired a rifle or shot a bow. And they'll take those skills back to their home, and adults need to have some fun too sometimes.
Sure.
We just had one here last weekend, and boy, was it cold. We had it was rugged, but we had a great day. We had we had a fire pit in the rifle range to stay warm, but it was a women's program, and we had almost 40 women from all over the state attend. And we gave the trout pond a good workout. We shot archery, shotgun. We did learn to hunt workshop and under ice beaver trapping, and just a really round robin. We're doing that now, actually, in 2 weeks up at PCCA.
I want to segue real quick into what I believe will be a upcoming podcast. Public access is a real issue.
Yeah.
And we can do a great job teaching thousands of people about these various things, but if they don't have a place to go and to hunt and to trap. And so right now we're working with Maine Coast Heritage Trust on some major conservation policy that will fund land conservation, Land for Maine's Future program. We are working with the administration on a number of public access issues through a study commission we put together. Sam submitted a bill to do that. Yeah. They've been having some success. I guess my point is that we have a lot of public lands that aren't being developed right now because the resources aren't available to do it. And we need money to invest in those lands, not just buy land. And so I'd like to do with you, Bob, a future podcast on the policies over the last 8 years that we've worked on to expand public access, because we have to have a place to go. And I think the department is key to that. You're a pretty big landowner. You have over 100,000 acres of your own land, and I think we should explore how we can improve public access.
Yeah. You know that our wildlife management areas, they're scattered all over the state. They all have great features and attributes, and sometimes it's almost the best kept secret.
It
folks live right down the road, and they don't even realize that they
And you're
exist.
doing a good job managing them, so they're good habitat.
Yep.
So you mentioned that you just did a woman's course, and I assume that you keep records on the demographics, that sort of thing. What we've seen, especially this year on Maine Deer Hunters, a tremendous number of young people and even more women getting into the fraternity of deer hunting. And, it's the gamut, but a lot of them, they're not, well, I go with my husband, I go with my boyfriend. It's, I went by myself, or I went with, my neighbor or a friend. What are you seeing in the roles?
I'm pretty excited. Maine is seeing a higher participation rate of females in a field, and like you just said, Bob, a lot of them they're individually. They might have a significant other at home, but they're going out by themselves and finding success. A lot of it is gaining confidence. I think that the culture shift it's very visible, but it's not like this everywhere in the country. Now, I think a lot of states are seeing increases, but we looked at our hunter education graduates for a period of time, and we're averaging 34% female participants graduating from hunter education, and the national average is about 18 to 25%. And IHEA, International Hunter Education Association, asked me, they said, what is Maine doing differently? Because your numbers are consistently higher than the national average. And our online provider, Calcami, had the same conversation with me. They said, whatever you're doing, you're getting more women to the table. And I don't think we can put our finger on exactly what it is.
We just have better women in Maine.
I think we have great opportunity. We have a lot of support, more and more social support. There's there's groups out there that are focused on getting women outdoors. Mm-hmm. We've run the BOW program for years, becoming an outdoors women program. We've rebranded that to Maine Outdoor Skills, and we basically, when we build these programs, we're listening to the public. We do a lot of social listening to see what do you need, rather than sitting there and conjuring up what we think you might need, and then we tailor those programs. And to have 38 women, last weekend when it was blistering cold, and it would have been just as easy to stay home on a Sunday and show up, not just show up and participate, but smile and leave there with raving reviews. So I think we're going to see that trend continue. And let's face it, moms make the decisions of what the family's doing on the weekends, right?
Yeah,
very frequently.
Yeah.
So
I have a theory on that too. I also think it's the men in Maine. When I go out into the outdoors, some of the nicest people you meet are people in the outdoors that are hunting and fishing, ice fishing. Oftentimes, when we're ice fishing, we'll always invite the ladies, but almost to the event, we'll walk next door to the group that's fishing on the other side of the lake, and we'll talk and we'll shoot the breeze and whatever. But if there's a flag that goes up and there's a young lady that's never fished, the first thing I do is say, Ava's got the next flag. And we just naturally are good people here in Maine, and we welcome anybody. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman.
Yeah, I think sharing that excitement, whether it's hunting or fishing, or I think people really see a lot of value in that, sharing the experience with somebody else. So yeah, I think we're seeing some great things out there. I think it's going to continue. We have, we offer programs for a wide range of people. Mm-hmm. One thing I did want to kind of check in on is hunter safety. And I know.
Yeah, well, I got a question for you there. You say we're good people. How good? How did we do last year? This past season?
We did exceptionally well, and I think looking back at last year statistically, we had 5 or 6 minor incidents through hunting season. Now that's the entire calendar year, so that's including turkey season all the way through all of our fall seasons. Well, even our winter predator hunting and snowshoe hare and that sort of thing. The bigger things we're seeing is preventable. Hunter education can only go so far. It's like going through driver's ed. People still are going to do things that they probably shouldn't do. But most of our accidents and injuries are self-inflicted. A lot of toe injuries. But
toe injuries.
Yeah, keep that finger off that trigger.
I don't
you
even
just
want
gotta,
to know.
you gotta.
Okay.
Don't trust your safety. But the number one thing that we actually see is upland bird hunting. The last couple of years, we've seen that being one of the more common areas where we have, the scenario: a bird flushes, somebody goes into the woods to flush the bird out. Maybe they've had a dog, maybe they don't, and a two-party situation. One person is now not visible. Bird flushes, and somebody swings to shoot, and their pellets go through the foliage and strike their partner. Right. Some of them are very minor, a couple pellet strikes. Some of them can be worse. We did have some negligence issues last year of a loaded, firearm in a UTV and safety off, which resulted in somebody with a kneecap injury. But we haven't had a fatality in a number of years. But when you look at the statistics, so 5 or 6 minor incidents. Back in the 50s, I think there was one year we had 19 fatalities in one calendar year. Yeah. And there's a lot of hunter safety is definitely a huge driver of this, but also laws like mandatory hunter orange, not driving deer. There's definitely some things that have been established to increase the safety, but it's a culture shift. It takes everybody that goes afield to, positively identify your target. The years of, if it's brown, it's down are gone. And we hold ourselves accountable. And it's something we should really celebrate. When you look at the hundreds of thousands of hours afield with all types of hunters out there and the general public, the Maine woods and waters are safe. And, the responsibility that I have, being the supervisor for that program for the state, I look at my grandkids and I want to make sure that my granddaughter can go in the backwoods safely any given day. And so I'm really proud of where we're at, but we're never going to rest. Until that number is 0, we're going to continue to fight and educate and influence the culture in a positive way, look for trends. The biggest, eye-opener is in the last 5 or 6 years, through all of that, we certified over 32,000 people online and about 7,000 people in person. So,
let's talk about that for a
it's
minute.
a different delivery method, but it is effective.
When it first came out, I think it was pre-COVID, and then COVID really put people to that's the only way you can get it. I was pretty skeptical about the whole thing. I like the in-person experience. I think it's very important. But has it been a success, this online program?
It has. I was not an early adopter. I think at one point I was asked to prove the course for my predecessor. He wanted me to take a look and see what I thought as an instructor and the director of the camp. And I wasn't an early adopter because it wasn't the way that I learned. But when I came into this, I knew I had the responsibility. Dave, you and I had a couple conversations about this. I knew I had the responsibility for the future of hunter education, and I wanted to dive into the data. And I started to lead with this kind of catchphrase is, facts and not fear. We needed to find what the data was telling us. And the data trends, and it's not just in Maine, it's actually nationwide. It's an effective course. I wouldn't have expected it to be as such because, I'm a hands-on learner. But what I've learned through all the conferences and all of the, professional development from the partnerships and trainings I've been at is that people learn differently. And your doctor is spending 90% of their time or more behind a computer learning. The hands-on portion is absolutely valuable, critical. We want to continue and we want to grow that side of the program. Yeah. But having multiple opportunities for people to learn is really the gateway. And then when you look at 32,000 people online certifications with negligible, when I see an accident or an injury, I go right back to what do they have for education. And so far, I think it's only been 2 or 3 in the last 5 years had an online hunter education certification. Most of them have been in person, or they were grandfathered because they were of age they didn't need hunter education.
I want to put a plug in for the fish and game clubs that we partner with. I think last count somewhere around 80, and they were doing a lot of those in-person classes. They have experienced people.
Yep.
I think there's a combination of things that have made it successful. The online stuff, it's like anything else. It's the application in the real world that really matters. So you get that basic education online, which I will admit I was against.
Knowledge.
Yeah, you get that foundational knowledge. But I remember when this was all happening, and I made a deal with Judy Camuso, the commissioner. I said, we can't stop it, but we insist on the hands-on work. And that is the classes that you're now developing.
Yep.
That was a deal that was struck between Sam and the administration that we would transition. We would also work with the clubs to continue to expand those programs in the clubs.
Yep.
And I think we're in the infant stages of, I think, the success that you will have. That is, you'll develop the curriculum, you'll create your satellite sites around the state. The fish and game clubs will be partners in that effort. In order to reach enough people to make a difference, Ron, we're going to have a statewide program.
Yeah.
The education center next door is only a model for what we could do across the state. Yeah. And I think for me it's exciting. You're going to need more resources. Maybe not today, but you will in the future if you follow through with the promises that were made when we went.
The program's growing.
Online.
I mean, last year we ran 100 Next Step programs, just under 100 Next Step programs. So those are those hands-on.
Yeah.
So now you've got hunter education. Learn to hunt white-tailed deer, learn to hunt turkey, shotgun 101, all of these different topics. And we see people signing up, and we actually have a big wave right now of learn to hunt turkey workshops. The rod and gun clubs, and education comes in a lot of different ways, but a lot of the rod and gun clubs, we're offering those Next Step programs in partnership with those folks, but also having range days, having open access to, ladies' day at the range, the programming that's going on at L.O. Bean with their outdoor discovery. There's lots of partners in this, and I think it's just going to continue to increase. The demand is going to increase.
I do too.
And I think using the SAM site as a model, I think we're starting to see this. It's creating again the culture and the buzz out there. We just started with PCCA, Penobscot County Conservation Association, doing very similar to what we're doing here in Augusta. They've got a wonderful facility. They've got a trout pond, hiking trails, and 2 weeks from now we'll be doing a skills day there. I think we've had over 100 people signed up for that.
Wow.
So we're going to continue to grow and make thoughtful decisions and look at the future, and again do a lot of social listening and watch for the trends, and it's really important that we understand what the public needs versus conjuring up what we think they might need.
Well, you've got a lot of so far we've talked about all these programs that people want to be involved with, and I had no idea that the gamut was this wide. What about the programs that people don't volunteer for but have to go to? That's yet another aspect of the hunter safety program.
You're talking about the ethics classes?
Yeah.
The ethics class.
Oopsie, done something wrong.
So when we leave a hunter ed class, and we tell everybody we hope we don't ever see you in an ethics class. So we have, I'm going to two things there. One, a lot of our programs are led by volunteers. We have a really strong backbone of volunteers, but there are times where we really want to increase availability, and you can only ask a volunteer to do so much. So we have a lot of staff-led programming, and I've got a larger team, statewide. But our ethics course, or our remedial ethics course, is designed. Years ago, I think it was a little bit more of a punishment. It was the last thing you had to go through. Now these folks might be their first infraction. Maybe they baited deer, shot a deer at night, had some kind of infraction, intentional, unintentional, negligence to the law, who knows, there's a lot of different reasons. And they show up in our classroom. We schedule ethics courses across the state more frequently. And it's a wide mix, but they're good people. A lot of these people, they broke the law. We're hoping that they're going to learn from their experience. They've lost their license. They lost their privileges, maybe their equipment. Might have spent the night in the clink,
Who's gal?
Well, the ones that really pay the price are the ones that lost granddad's gun.
Yeah.
That's been in the family for 3 generations and used it for. Those folks are, their punishment is trying to get granddad's gun back.
And then I think the biggest takeaway when I see these folks come in is when you've got a father or a grandfather that comes in and has to explain to their child or grandchild why they can't take them out for youth day because they made a mistake, and you see tears in their eyes. So the way that we designed our ethics course, it's really about regaining trust, and it's mutual. I understand fully they don't trust the department. They assume that the department in this patch might just be law enforcement, that game wardens are hiding behind every tree trying to pinch them, and that's not the case. We flesh out all of the responsibilities of the department, every single department, within all of the mechanics of engineering and information and education, licensing, all the things that go into this agency, the value of landowners and landowner relations, making sound, ethical, responsible decisions, the North American model for wildlife. We blend in all these concepts, and then we do a bunch of scenarios. And if you remember back the old books that were like Choose Your Own Adventure, you could skip to page 7 and then read and then go to another. We have these scenarios that are very open ended, and it allows them to really dig into the corners of what could you do in this situation. And you could do 3 things right and probably 5 things wrong, but then what? Okay, so you didn't have your turkey permit and you decided to still go out, and you shot a bird. Now what? You got to tag the bird. And through those exercises, you see the light go off in their head. And at the end of the day, it's about a 4.5 hour class now. You see folks that want to shake your hand across the table, and I tell them, I look them in the eye and say, I hope I see you back out there, okay, on the right foot. And I don't think we're going to see them back. There'll be a few, I'm sure. I've had people that, this is the 3rd time I've taken it. And I always say, I'm going to make a reservation for your next one. But
sometimes you
got to lean back on the laws and the penalties, and there's a process for that. Yeah. But by and large, most of them are first offenders that we want to turn them into a more ethical, responsible hunter and understand safety and, also another thing is how laws and rules are made.
Yeah.
A lot of people have no clue.
You know what I found is that the people that coming in the third and fourth time are the end of the last generation where maybe some of that was almost glorified. That the deer jacker everyone knows and nobody can catch, and the stories told about it. We don't want to romanticize.
They're not criminals; they're outlaws.
Yeah, they're outlaws. And
Jesse James.
You don't want to romanticize that. I mean, ultimately, the department exists because back in the 1930s, a generation experienced the loss of the resources, whether it was white-tailed deer or wood ducks. They were disappearing because the resource was being exploited. Yep. The department's there to make sure that the next generation has access to that resource, that the deer is sustainable. And that's true of all wildlife.
Absolutely.
And so I think when you put it in that context is that the department's not out there to harass people and pinch them. They're there to protect a resource and make sure it exists for the next generation.
Absolutely. They need to understand that, the law enforcement side is just to protect, the safety and the experience for everybody. And game wardens truly want to find a lot of people doing things right. And they do. And they have a great educational component with their day-to-day job, going out there, interfacing with folks.
The reality, too, for me is that, and my wife is not an outdoors person per se. She went last year fishing for the first time. We've been married for over 40 years.
She indulges you.
She indulges me. She actually had fun. I think it was great for her to go, and she's going to get a license again this year. But what I was going to get at is wardens also have a very serious role. When somebody goes out on the ice and falls through the ice in the middle of the winter and it's 30 degrees below zero, they don't get to choose the weather when they have to dive and find your loved one.
Yep.
That's a very serious role they play.
Yep.
It's not just enforcing the law, it's making sure that when the worst possible thing happens, that families are held whole. And that we watched, my wife and I watched a show the other day where wardens recovered the body of a young man who had fallen through the ice, and it was the most solemn thing.
Yep.
But those wardens are so professional; they train constantly for it, and they risk their own lives going in those conditions to recover someone's loved one.
Yep. And you look back at Title 12. I mean, they took an oath to protect the laws and rules in Title 12, by and large, to protect folks from doing things that they probably shouldn't do, and trying to, make sure that, fair chase and all that type of stuff. But and their roles are so complex because, especially in Maine with the climate, they're managing everything from, a changing season right straight through, all of the recreational vehicles between boats and paddle sports, snowmobiles, ATVs, UTVs, hunting seasons going on, trapping seasons going on. And, we expect them to also have every single minute detail of every law and every rule for this wide array of all these activities. And it's a pretty big responsibility. It really is. So Maine's got a lot of great resources and opportunities.
Huge state,
a lot to juggle.
Yeah. Huge state.
So back to the ethics course. I hope I don't see any of you in one of them. But if you do, you'll learn a lot, and hopefully we'll regain trust.
So you've got a ton of programs. Again, I had no idea it was this wide. So it's not just a hunter safety course where you're sitting in a classroom. There's mentor programs. There's outdoor activities. There's the ethics course. But that's so much more. Get involved. Go on. How do I find out more about this stuff?
If I want to cliche, Bob, go to the website and you can check out. You can search for any of the activities, whether it's a hunter safety course. Go to safety courses. But our app, great selfish plug for our app. You can download the app. It has all your holdings there, your licenses and all that. But you can go right to educational and programs. You can see all the courses that are listed. Very simple registration process. And the programs are all free. They're all basically they're at no cost. They're funded through Pittman Robertson funding for most of our programs, including hunting and trapping and archery safety. All of our next step programs. Some programs may have a nominal fee, and that's usually a sponsor fee to keep the lights on at a rod and gun club or that sort of stuff. But the website, also Facebook and social media. We post a lot of our up and coming programs. And when you register through what's called Eventbrite, and it just gives you all the details. And and then we're hoping to see you in a program. There's something out there for everybody. And then beyond the side of the shop that I oversee, there's a lot of nature-based educational programs available. So really dig beyond just safety courses and look at the programs for educators, for homeschoolers, families. There's lots of nature-based programming available. So,
and we're expanding our interaction, our relationship between Sam and the department, particularly through our outdoor education center, which is right across the street from our office here. So check out that. Check out the SAM webpage, the SAM social media outlets as well. Any final words for us, Ron? Anything I skipped over?
I'd like to put in a plug as well to join the Sportsmen's Alliance of Maine. We do a tremendous amount of work for one full-time person and 3 part-time people.
Yeah.
Our influence is big, and if you like what we do, go to our website, Sportsmen's Alliance of Maine. Just Google us, and you'll find us, and consider joining online or giving us a call at 623-4589.
Yeah, there you go.
And then,
everything that we're talking about today is about connections and partnerships. Get involved. Whether it's a rod and gun club, Sam, Maine Deer Hunters on social media. There's just an endless opportunity to get involved in conservation education in some way, shape, or form, and show up. It's really rewarding. Whether it's a volunteer. I'll say one thing we need right now. We need volunteer archery instructors. Our archery program is blowing up beyond just the safety course. Recreational shooting, that's a whole nother podcast. But there's something for everybody as far as getting involved. So
excellent. Well, maybe we'll see you again soon on another podcast. But hopefully we'll see all you soon on another podcast. In the meantime, be safe.
All right.